YouTube family. All right, it's another edition of the Blue Bucket Chronicles. I had to start this video the way I did because it's early in the morning. It's around 8 o'clock in the morning, and I've been up early getting ready for our trip that we're leaving this evening. Our fifth trip to Atlantic City this year. They're doing another drone and fireworks show at Oceans Friday evening. It's the last drone and fireworks show of this summer, and SAYNIA and I enjoyed the show for the 4th of July, and we wanted to do it again. So we're heading to Atlantic City for the last fireworks and drone show of the year, or of the summer, I guess. It's a little rainy. It's been rainy here over the last couple of days. I think I'm okay though. But you all saw I prepared some beefaroni for dinner for tonight, but also for travel food. And like I said, I didn't want to wake SAYNIA up. She was sawing logs. She was sleeping good, so I didn't want to wake her up. Although I did see her move as I was leaving out the door, so she's probably awake now. But I wanted to get this video done, this installment. This is chapter 12 of the Blue Bucket Chronicles. And I wanted to get it done before we left for the Atlantic City trip. Let me see if I can find me a nice little spot to do this video from. It's been raining, so the grass is kind of full, but I'll find me a spot. I don't want to get too close to the highway because sometimes the cars, we got somewhat of a wind gust coming. Look here, you all. Yeah, this looks like a nice spot right here. Look here, you all. Yesterday, I did the video when I came in from work, and just kind of talking about some of the comments from chapter 11, where the theme or the topic of chapter 11 kind of dealt with the fact that I moved in with a single mother. That's kind of the theme of that chapter. But I want to kind of change gears a little bit because this is what, was on my mind as I think about, telling this story. And let me just set it up for you. When I went into the shop yesterday, I never know what's going to be on the television when I go in the shop in the afternoons. Usually it's sports. The guys in there, they like to watch ESPN and the sports reports and everything, what's going on with sports. But every now and then, if there's nothing going on in sports, they'll play movies. Primarily, older movies from, let's say, the early 2000s to mid 2000s. On channels like Freevee or Tubi or those type of channels. Well, when I walked in the shop, the movie Norbit was on the television. And it's so funny when I walked in and saw the movie Norbit with Eddie Murphy. He was playing a guy, that was in a relationship with an abusive woman. Okay, y'all know what I'm talking about. The movie Norbit. When I walked in and saw that, I said, okay, universe, you funny. You funny. Because I had been thinking about that movie and that story. Now I've never watched the movie Norbit all the way through. But the thing is, Norbit was what we would call a simp. Okay? As a matter of fact, I didn't know what the word simp meant until I moved in with Sharon. Straight up. I did not know the meaning of what a simp was or anything until moving in with Sharon. Okay? And one time I looked up the word and they referenced that movie. They referenced that movie Norbit to describe what a simp was from the standpoint of being a man. Here's the thing, you all. When I got into the relationship with Sharon, like I said, I knew it was going to be a different experience because she was a single mother. She was working and maintaining a household on her own. But she was like a lot of women, single women, she wanted a man. She wanted a man in her life. And I was trying to be that man. That's the thing. I was trying to be that man. Okay? But I found myself, and we've talked about this, I found myself in a situation where, hey, I'm living with her and I'm in danger of losing my own home. Okay? But let's get to this point. I stumbled on a video on YouTube. It just kind of popped up. I don't know if you all experience this too. But sometimes when I'm thinking about something, I'm thinking about a topic, somehow videos pop up on YouTube dealing with that topic. And that's really, that's really just the law of attraction. What you think about and you put mental energy towards, you attract. That's just some law of attraction talk right there. And to me, that's just a law of attraction working in my life. So sometimes I'll think about something, just like the movie Norbit. I was thinking about it all week, and then I walk in the shop and it's on the television. That's the law of attraction. Okay, so let's get back to it. I stumbled on a video where this guy was saying the reasons you should never move in with a woman. Now, this was after I had moved in with Sharon. This was after, I'd moved in, and I started feeling the effects. I started feeling the effects of living with her. And, for all intents and purposes, it didn't feel good. I didn't feel empowered. I didn't feel like a strong man. I didn't feel like a leader. Because you're really not. You're really not. If you're living with a woman, you're not a leader. Not in today's society. Not in today's society. You can't lead a woman, a household that's not yours. But this was kind of a new feeling for me. This was a new experience. But what happened was I began to feel like, instead of a strong, confident, leader for a household, I began to feel weak. And in some ways, incapable. Now, I didn't let that set in. But here's the thing. Sharon held one of my basic needs in her hand. There are three basic needs to human life. Food, shelter, and clothing. You got to have those three to survive as a human. She was in control. She was in control of one of those basic needs, which was where I was living. And with that type of control, you can make somebody do whatever you want them to do. Because if they don't do it, if they don't do what you want them to do, you can take away one of their basic human needs for living. Okay, so once again, you all can see how this affected my self-esteem. How it affected my self-esteem from the standpoint, okay, I'm trying to do everything I can to stay in this woman's good graces. That's what it really boiled down to. I'm trying to stay in this woman's good graces so she doesn't put me out on the streets. And one of those things was, of course, financial contributions. As long as I can make financial contributions to the household, okay, I guess I'll be okay. I probably won't get respected. Because that was another one of the main issues with our relationship, is I felt Sharon no longer respected me, for who I was as a man, But like I said, I knew as long as I can keep making financial contributions to the household, I would be okay. If I stopped, giving her money, I was out. That's how I believe. That was my belief. I don't feel that she loved me to that point that if I stopped, making financial contributions, I was out. That's what it boiled down to. So, in chapter 11, you all learned that I started using my skills, my hustle abilities, and followed the instruction of my spirit guides to go out and start selling fragrance oils in the Langley Square Shopping Center. And check this out. Shortly after I started going out selling fragrance oils with my cart in the Langley Square Shopping Center, Sharon quit that job at the grocery store. Y'all remember, and I don't remember what chapter it was, but y'all remember I was trying to get the job at the grocery store, and she went and got the job at the grocery store? Well, that lasted 3 months. Yeah. The thing is, when they lifted the stay-at-home order, so that gave me the ability to go out and start selling my oils in the shopping center like I was. Once they lifted that stay-at-home order, Sharon quit. She quit the job at the grocery store. I mean, she was getting stimulus money. The electric companies were paying people's bills and all kinds of stuff then. So she quit the job. But the other thing is this. Once she got a taste of freedom from a job, it was like, okay, she couldn't really go back to working like she was. She wanted to get back to selling cake slices, and making food. Okay? Because she had built up a customer base. She had built up a clientele of people that were buying cake from her, food from her, and once again, like I've said, I was encouraging her. I was motivating her to do her own business. But that's what happened. Once I started working out in the shopping center, she quit the job at the grocery store. Okay? And then subsequently, once I was out there in the shopping center and I found out that the school wasn't going to be opening back up, Hampton University, that's when I got the job working in the hair salon. Okay, so now I had a place of employment. Okay, and when I didn't have a hair client, I would just go out and walk up and down the shopping center with my oils. But, and I was working in Monica's hair salon. But if I had a client, I would work my client, and I started to build a clientele. Okay, and that's the whole thing is people might not know your value, but you can't forget your value. People might not know your value, but you can't forget your value. And that was the thing with me. I knew what I had the capabilities of doing. It was just the situation that I found myself in kind of threw me off my footing. But once I got in a hair salon, I started making money. And I was able to confidently make contributions to the household. But I had already felt the disrespect. I had already felt the disrespect from Sharon. Here's the main problem. Yeah, I was making money, but Hampton University wasn't going to be opening for another year. So once again, I was stuck with possibly leaving Sharon's house. And here's the thing. She didn't want me to go. She didn't want me to leave. Okay? And you all know why. Okay, I was a male presence. I was making contributions. For all intents and purposes, we were in a relationship. She didn't want me to have my room in the rooming house. She didn't want me to have that. Because as long as I had that room in the rooming house, I could always leave. The thing is, she didn't want me to leave. Y'all know what I'm saying, and that's why I bring up the simp topic. Okay, because a man that's a simp, he's not respected. He's not respected. But the woman that he's subservient to, she wants to keep that. She wants to keep him around. Look it up. Google what simps are. Okay? The thing is, I'm not built for that. That's not who I am. I found myself in that kind of position. But once I started getting my money right, okay, I could start thinking clearly now. Okay, I could start thinking clearly. Once again, the problem was, do I leave Sharon's house and go back to my room in the rooming house on an empty college campus? And even further, I was behind 4 months on my rent in the rooming house because I didn't pay it. Now here's the other thing. There was a court order that said that landlords couldn't put people out because of the pandemic and all of this and all of that. I don't think that was in Virginia, because Mr. Burns, he went to court, and I got a court summons. By the time I got that court summons, I owed him $2,000 in back rent, plus court costs and all of that. So once again, you all, YouTube family, I'm stuck with continuing to live with Sharon. Okay? Which I have to make contributions to her because I'm living with her. And then paying $2,000 back rent to Mr. Burns. To maintain my room in the rooming house, I had to pay the back rent and plus, and then keep my rent up, which was $500 a month. I wound up going to court. And the judge delayed the judgment for 30 days. So I had a decision to make. Do I take what little money I have? And I didn't have $2,000 saved up, but I did have money saved. But take what little money I have saved up to save my room at the rooming house, or let the eviction go through. That was a choice that I was faced with. You know, continue to live with Sharon and you know, continue to make contributions to essentially her household, or take what money I had and avoid being evicted from my home in the rooming house. Well, 30 days later, the judge said, Mr. Martin, you got 10 days to get your stuff out of that place. Yes, I was evicted from my home in the rooming house. And I take full responsibility. I'm not blaming nobody. I take full responsibility. I made those choices. I was put in the position I was put in, and I had to make the choices that I made. And I accepted the eviction. And, you know, getting a judgment and eviction on my credit report. So I had 10 days to get all of my belongings out of my room in the rooming house. And once again, I had two rooms. I had two rooms in the rooming house. The room that I primarily lived in, and the other part that I turned into a barber shop, you know, to cut the hair of the students at Hampton University. But Hampton University wasn't going to be opening for another year. So, over a 10-day period, Sharon and Ashley helped me move my belongings out of the rooming house. And here's the other thing, you all, and it's kind of emotional as I'm telling this and reliving this story. There was a lot of things I had to just leave. There was a lot of things I had to just leave because I couldn't I couldn't take everything that I owned. You know, because I wasn't going to clutter up Sharon's place with, you know, all of my belongings. I wasn't going to clutter her place up. So I had to be selective about what I was going to keep and what I was going to leave. And I left a lot of things that I had some sentimental, you know, attachment to. And you know, sometimes I think about certain things and I think, oh man, okay, I don't have that anymore. I'll think about, you know, maybe I don't know, any little item or something that I used to own. And for a moment, I might think I still have it, but then realize, oh no, I had to leave that. I don't have that anymore. That's the reality of my situation. Of moving in with Sharon. But here's the thing, y'all. Once I got that court judgment and I moved all of my belongings that I could keep out of the rooming house, that's when the real drama began. Yeah. That's when the real drama began. When I no longer had my home in the rooming house. My home now was Sharon's house. And that's where things really started to get crazy. So, stay tuned for chapter 13, where we're going to get into how the drama really started. How the drama really started when I didn't have a place to go to. I didn't have a place to go back to. So stay tuned for chapter 13. I want to thank you all for watching this video. I hope you liked it. If you have any questions or comments, leave the comments down below. I know I got lots of comments, and I really appreciate the comments on these Blue Bucket Chronicles. It keeps the story going. It keeps the story turning. So thank you all. All right, y'all, let me get myself together. I got a lot to do before we leave out for Atlantic City this evening. So, have a great day. Be blessed and be a blessing.